guess. Yeah, and then I'll just stick me on the side.
There we go. Perfect.
More or less like up here will be good. Let's try this format. So right, I got 6 to get us going.
Do we have everybody's system audio on? I always have to
Yeah,
double.
yeah, I hit
Oh,
record. It should be. But I'll test it after these 6. I'll pause, make sure we got everything right.
okay.
Hello, everybody. Tyler Edlin. I'm back with both Adam and Jessica. This challenge for an
Hello,
awesome
hello.
critique session. Believe the challenge was monsters getting summoned by a witch outside a small humble village. It was a Halloween theme, but anyways, guys, thanks for joining me. There's 18 of you. Let's get through these in groups of 6. So Adrian's back. Welcome, Adrian.
Of course.
Oh, this is very cool.
Ooh,
Oh, I
yeah.
like this.
Yeah. Very iconic Adrian style too, like that aliens type of vibe to it.
Everything's got an aliens vibe. We can't just have a dog. We have to have a demon dog from a space crater.
Yeah, I love it. I
Just
love it.
keep doing you,
I
man.
love how quickly I recognize his work. That's awesome.
I like that the
The
witch is
structure is
the
a lot better for this
Yeah.
than your normal stuff. Like it actually has like a flow for your foreground, midground, background. They don't necessarily feel like they're all pasted together, and I think you handled the lighting a lot better as well.
Yeah.
hmm
Like for
Um,
a very dark image, it's very readable.
Yep.
definitely. I like the repetition of the green lights through the foreground and the background. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's fun.
It really balances the piece nicely, doesn't it? Yeah.
Something that's standing out to me is the moon being in the corner like that.
Yeah.
Feels like a very it's drawing too much attention to itself with the like white corner of the
Mhm.
painting.
You beat me to it. I
hmm
agree. It's distracting.
Yeah. I'm actually in a painting I'm doing right now. It's exactly what I just did was to darken the moon and give it more of a deep color. If you actually look at the moon, it's more of a like a in reality it's around a 70% gray value. It's only white from a distance because that light reflects on it, but when you actually see the moon close up, it's actually darker because you get all the textures of the moon and stuff, and that'll help to pull attention back to these characters down here.
hmm
I'd
Yeah.
also add a little bit of maybe atmospheric fog, something to separate that dog from the tree because he seems a little bit
Mm-hmm. Put
lost in
like
the.
a yeah, light up behind the what's it called? Behind the dog with any kind,
Yeah,
maybe some more of that green, or even just like a nice little ambient light.
yeah,
Just kind of like warming. I'm not gonna be able to do that. There's no band-aid, quick band-aid fix for this dude. But yeah, I get that guy to pop out just a little bit. See, I need a warmer neutral kind of behind it, which I'm not gonna get in a very quick way. Something like this where you just have like a subtle ambient light, just almost like a spotlight. Drop in a literal spotlight that doesn't exist, just to highlight some of this side of the tree, in that character. Keep it,
It'll help give the tree more
yeah. See,
dimension
just
as
like
well.
this, very subtle. You don't want to overdo it, which is very easy to do, but it
yeah,
will definitely help all of this. You could put the moon maybe like up here or over here, like have it blazing through in a very eerie way back there.
yeah.
I don't think that would detract from it, but yeah, moon placement be careful with. But this is great. I think it's one of your strongest pieces I've ever seen, and I've been looking at your pieces for a while. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very
awesome.
cool.
I just add one more thing too. Is you notice that tree you've made an effort to fit the tree inside the frame, which kind
Yeah.
of flattens it a bit. I would bring those branches. I would exit the
Right
frame,
out.
right?
Yeah, I would say maybe even reference the way that tree branches split apart and like the actual shapes of them so
Yeah.
you can get a more realistic feel because the branches feel kind of rubbery
Mm,
and you could get like some more like hard edges and turns and things like that and it'll feel more like a realistic tree.
yeah, yeah.
Great tips, everybody. How do you guys feel? Yeah, I guess the Skype window keeps disappearing. I think when I go to full screen on the Photoshop, right? Because if I come back, it's still not missing. So I'm gonna do what I normally do and just stick this little window that pops up right there. But then I don't know. See, it gets double, so I'm gonna get rid of this. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm figuring out Skype.
No worries.
There's always someone in the comment, why don't you use Discord? Because when I use Discord for video sharing and chat like this, it crashes everything. It's not optimized. the way it needs to be for this. All right, let's get going. Okay, this is spooky as heck. Wow.
The sense of scale is fun.
The sense of scale is also a little probably the weakest part of it though, because like we're really
But
far out of the scene. It's like if this is a
I meant
movie,
the,
right?
the creature versus the person.
No, that's
But
a good
yeah,
sense of scale.
not the landscape.
But like in terms of the way the shot's set up, it's like we're watching from across the lot, right? We're watching a film of a movie or a set of a movie getting filmed, but we're
Yeah.
not participating in it. We're not on crew. We're literally like watching it from like the break room. It's
Yeah.
just like it. We want this to be like
Yeah, my
impactful.
first thought is, why is this a landscape oriented versus a portrait oriented
You
Yeah.
see,
painting?
there's little guys hiding on the sides, but it's like I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It seems like you could really chop a
Oh,
lot
she's
of
a
this.
decoy. I get it.
Yeah,
She's a
decoy.
decoy. I get it. I get it. A very convincing one too.
So I like the storytelling on this. It's just the composition for me. I would probably make a lot of tweaks.
Yeah. And not
Possibly
only
even less central, like to have like maybe one of the sides curving around in front of us and the road curve around, and then like at the third mark maybe we would get the confrontation between the two of them.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the it's like a weird choice of angle and stuff. Like you can just if you were to fake some stuff, which I know I'm destroying like a lot of it, but this essentially adds, it brings us into the shot, as the viewer, right? So you had that like there. I'm just gonna completely butcher your painting, so don't mind me. Take like this whole, section, like right here, right? Like take that. I just want literally this, right? Have that be minimal, like this size, right down the center, and then you could stick your character and your other supporting characters, which I'm just gonna blunt in a blunt way, right? Have your trees, like they can come off to the side. Have your other characters here, and then again the girl can be a lot bigger in frame or in shot, even in a slightly asymmetrical way. Again, following the path, right? Have those slightly off each other.
Yeah.
And then you could frame that, the werewolf and stuff like that, having your rhythms like that. It just brings us to the scene. A lot of people struggle with that.
I would also just to kind of pull your eye to the fact that there's guys hiding, that string that's tethering her to ground. I would pull that all the way over to the side, like to where the guy is, so that your eye follows that line and sees the guy hiding behind the thing. Right? It could also help.
The trees also need a bit more polish and touch up.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's
They're a
some
little rough.
textural things where like they almost aren't reading as trees because they're lacking the right textures.
AI.
I immediately thought Diablo when I saw that. Just that isometric shot.
You got really nice rendering. The values are a bit too dark.
Yeah.
Like if I color drop like 70% of your image, everything but this square, it's like on the black. And that's like, it's a difficult read, and that makes it a difficult sell, particularly if this was ever going to go to print for a magazine or a card. It's going to look even darker. So, this is like a very quick adjustment I did ahead of
there you go.
time. Because
Nice.
like I couldn't see anything. I was just like, I wanted to force more of that. And see, like you have this nice warm light coming into here, right from. I'd push a lot of that even more. That's not even. It's a pretty good size image. Yeah, everybody did better so far with my size requests. They were all too big last time, Adam, and it locked my computer up.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, see, like I'd push a little bit more of that warm light, kind of coming out of there like that, because that'll give you the opportunity. Right, it's all about creating these opportunities. Like you can really highlight, right, and accent a lot of the midtones, right, in forms, on this side of this blue creature. Like you can have, there should be a spectrum of greens. See, when the yellows and the oranges start to meet the blues of the character, you want to see that on the character. So that's like a very, very blunt, quick idea of what that could look like.
I would add to that too. The back of that creature gets a little bit lost. Like what Tyler brought in with that blue light, you could have a nice blue light catching the back of his back to pop it out, and maybe do something to. We've got this big negative space behind the creature
That's
in
like a bit of a
grass.
thing, Adam.
That
I
seems like
always saw that.
yeah, yeah. Put a big sign or something, some big branch just canceling out that whole area, just kind of vignette the piece a bit more. I'm really excited about the visual storytelling in this piece, though. Those bodies on the ground
Like,
and stuff like that,
Yeah.
that's really, there's a
The,
lot
the
going on there.
the posing of the figures is really well done.
Yeah.
There is something that's throwing me off though, is the acting in the face of the monster.
Hmm.
His face feels very blank, and I don't know, like there's no.
yeah,
I feel like there should be some sort of emotion there, either
Yeah.
rage or shame or malice or like. But he kind of just has like
Neutral.
a content, peaceful look on his face,
Mhm.
which the rest of the scene, the guy stumbling upon him shielding his face from the light, like it's kind of incongruent with the rest of the painting.
Yeah. You know what though, if you did, you could use a face like that if his body language was aggressive. So like if you kind of give him, like, if you think like Japanese horror films and stuff like that, one of the things that makes him so frightening is the fact that they've got this complete apathy on their face despite the fact that they're doing something very brutal, but the body language is extremely fierce, and that juxtaposition of that sociopathic face, that blank mask-like face with a very aggressive body and a lot of brutality, creates for something that can be even scarier. So long, now he's just being too passive though. So it just reads as him being gentle, right?
It's
Yeah.
like against the body language with him like hiding his face or shielding his face from the light. It's
Nice detail though. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
this is not an easy image by any stretch to pull
Yeah.
off.
really well set up.
This side, it's a little weird for me, like how that's structured. And of course, my biggest thing, like Adam said, is like this space back there, and then the smaller details like we just moved in. But you got something I think definitely worth salvaging there, and just revisit it, take a break, go back
Mm-hmm.
after a fresh take, and you'll see it as well.
Yeah.
So this one suffers similar problems in that, for me, it's largely value structure and compositional elements, major compositional elements. I again took the liberty just to brighten that up. Really helps us see this. This is just, again, really too dark. So be careful with that. The other thing, right, guys, the composition. We just have the main actress, which I'll just highlight
Like
in these
in the corner.
pink.
Yeah.
She's,
Cut off.
you're putting baby in the corner right here, right? Like she's absolute. I guess if younger people won't even get that reference, but anyway, right? Everything is right here in the corner. It's a tangent in itself having them literally sitting and standing on the frame.
Yeah.
Like,
In the
And-
corner. Yeah.
you don't want
And
to do
I
that.
also feel like there's like a fire or something behind them, which is
Mhm.
also getting cut out of the picture. We're not seeing. So I feel like we're like looking at the corner of a painting, and like the interesting painting is like off to the side of
Yeah.
like the rest of her arm, the fire, like whatever's behind her.
No, that's a great way to pose it. Like, it seems like, oh, come on, give me this back. Copy and paste.
Imagine you kind of imagine it like if somebody was taking a picture of this, they were about to snap the shot, and then somebody knocked their hand out of the way,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and took take that whole camera and just go zip and center them in the shot.
Right, like you need.
There you
For me, I think at least that much room on the ground. So the characters, you got to stage them, right? They're on the stage. We have to support that, and then of course you got like all this fire and brimstone, all this chaos and malice right on this side, which you can literally start to add a lot more to the storytelling and the composition. You can make it a lot more spooky too by adding or continuing to add loads of trees and background, or really make it feel thick and dangerous. Like I would have like loads more, like stick them literally on the outskirts, of a forest
Yeah.
with like, a little bit of that breakdown there behind them. But yeah, a lot of structural things for this one. So remember, no amount of cool rendering and effects like fur and bones it's not gonna save a weak design in composition, which I know you're working through, and you have some really cool ideas there. But again, it's all about framing and shot design. Pretend you're a cameraman, pretending you're literally shooting this shot. How would you want to frame it?
Yep. Yep.
Anika, Anika, Anika. I'm terrible with names. This is nice. That's how you do a dark palette right here.
Yeah.
That's really
And
nice.
it's not that dark. Yeah.
That's beautiful. This is awesome.
Yeah, I really like this one.
Like you can literally see the witch there with all the dynamic lighting, sending out her creation upon the town. This is the textbook definition for what I was looking for. This is awesome.
Yeah, and the details in the hand, the colors.
The midtones, the dual light setups. This is great.
Yeah.
Like you see him creeping out of the basement. You got like cobwebs.
Even the creature design, like the shape of it, looks really well thought out. The texture of it, the face, it all seems really well designed.
Yeah. Now here, you're right on the cusp of something that's really freaking awesome here, and that is if you just added about an extra inch to the left side of the image and bring the moon into the shot to show that he's howling because he's facing the moon, he's howling at the moon. Bring the moon into the shot to show maybe he's a werewolf, he just transformed, right? But if you do that, then it justifies what's going on here. That he kind of just
I'm on board with you on that. Like I would literally expand it this amount, have the door frame right coming up to there, and right you're gonna get it all in there, and then you get this much sky, this much real estate that you can really, punctuate, even more the telephone lines. You could add the moon.
Yeah. Ooh, nice.
Just creeping out, like subtly. I do like 3/4 of the moon, have it, the rest of it kind of clipped off. You don't need to show the whole thing, I don't think. And, it'll look awesome. And if I had to critique anything more, I'd get a little bit deeper, richer shadows in back here. They're a little flat and monochromatic, and then sharpen up some of those details back there. Have a nice
I was gonna say, I like that the figures in the background are kind of blurry, but I feel like you just took it like 10% too far.
Yeah, a little bit more. But awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Look at that character rendering. Like, I couldn't do that better myself. That is great. That is really good.
Really beautiful. I like it has like a really nice style to it. Like the way that like there's like a graphic quality to the way you've designed the figure. It's really nice.
Real classic fantasy book type of illustrations. I really like that.
Yeah.
Really nice. Mother of Sorrows.
Alyssa, this is cool.
Alyssa.
Oh my goodness.
That's what the name of the challenge was. I couldn't even remember. So thank you for writing that, Alyssa. This is cool.
Yeah.
I think there's some value things going on, but compositionally, like in terms of like the actual design of it, I genuinely like a lot.
There's something with like the posing that's throwing me off a little bit, like with the I think that the mummy, the way that he's standing, like when you think about like the action of like chopping someone,
it's kind of fallen over a bit. It's
need a
little
kind
bit
of got
more
his legs like off to the side and like this passive pose that kind of goes against the action of the torso.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would continue to work on pushing out like some of these shapes and values. Like you have like a lot of good shapes going on right with these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's flattening a lot in this foreground when that's like it should have the most contrast, right? At least to get some of this stuff to really pop. Oh, not doing that way. Yeah, see, that's what I was trying to do. Just pull right some of those shapes. Like do the same with the mummy. I'd even have like a warm light, and again an invisible omni light right behind them, adding warm to all this. Or, yeah, because you've got, like, cool bluish greens behind them. And I guess you already have that. So I'd get that mid-tone range in there just a bit more. And then darken, right, some, like you did here, back here. You could darken some of the negative shapes. And then just work on some of that, like, you can have all that be dark, too. Just silhouette it. And you'll have, like, a really nice drama piece. You guys have anything to add?
Yeah, just in terms of in clarity of story, if that head is summoning or something like that,
I'd
open the mouth. Open the mouth of that green celestial head in the behind them, just to show that it's a chant or she's summoning or something like that, because it just looks like she's biting on a ribbon. And the other thing was a little streak of blood to show that the guy that zombie
Connection.
that just sliced the guy's head off, we can make that connection, see the wisp of blood that makes that connection, because otherwise it just looks like he's about to slice again, but then we see the guy's head was decapitated.
I am getting a little bit like a claustrophobic feeling.
Yeah, it's very busy.
Head's like right on the edge of the canvas, and the other guy's head is right on the edge of the other side. I'm like feeling like either they need to actually have their face get cut off by the edge, or expand it and give it a little more room.
I think this would be a much more comfortable size for this one.
Yeah, there you go.
You could have just enough there, and then you could stagger these. Like you could put this character a little bit more in front of this one to show, sequence.
Gives
and
more
then set
there.
the mummy like slightly further back, fix the legs, and that'll kind of adjust all this. Very complex image though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fun
I
image.
like a good center composition like that. You could really play up those dramas. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh,
back with round 2.
Yeah.
Hey, Eric.
Got some cool stuff going on here.
This is freaky.
Yeah. I like the vibe. I like it a lot. And narratively, this is reading well. I would open the guy's mouth more to show that she's actually, it's like the last one, right? Show that it's, she's sucking out. So that really exaggerate that his mouth being open.
Yeah, this is, you got like a good composition here. You got like, just right in our face. It's in the moment. It's kind of like, I like that it gets right down to business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, there's something about the light is very like
the lighting isn't working.
Yeah, the lighting is throwing it off. It's making your eye jump all over the painting, and it's like it's too much like white as opposed to colors.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have like this blue thing coming out of the mouth, which is like made up of light, but then all of the light on the skin and the mummy and the hat, all of that is reading as white and almost kind of warm. When it would be bluish. Like you should start picking up the colors. The temperature shifts would do more for you than just pumping the value higher and higher.
Yeah. Like I would lose these celestial stars too that you have in the sky that's almost romanticizing some of the scene that it's just not necessary.
Yeah, it almost gives it a kind of a lover's vibe. Well, which might be technically. It might have been a gone bad.
And then I'd replace every bit of black in this with like a deep blue, like a Prussian sort of blue. And then you could let them like there's ways like it's hard, like you can get pretty close to looking like that without literally going to black, which it literally looks like here. So here's a very example of Nathan Fox doing something very similar. Like there's parts of this that are extremely dark, but the light's emphasized in such a way that it still feels like that there's literally lighting coming in the scene, and it's a very hard thing to to not only master but do just efficiently. And I think once you get a hold of that, you'll be able to add a lot of depth to the scene. You'll be able to add a lot of mood and atmosphere to the scene as well.
I'm going to give a piece of it. I might have mentioned it in an earlier Brush Sauce Theater thing, but I really strongly recommend anybody watching to look up and do a little bit of studying on photography, slow shutter speed, nighttime photography. Because what you're doing is it's as if you took your camera and just snapped a shot at night and everything's black on black. And when you use a slow shutter, all of the colors of the sky start to come in. You actually get significant value contrasts, almost daylight lighting, if you expose the camera longer, and you get a lot of these beautiful nighttime colors as a result of it. So
you got to let the light kind of come in.
Yeah.
But nice setup, Eric. Really cool.
Very, yeah. I've got my eyes on that next one. What's going on here? I like the composition going on here.
Cypher Abyss.
Cypher Abyss.
Oh, by Max. Let's look at the monsters, the witch.
Lukem. Okay.
This is insane.
Yeah.
You got some like deep narratives going on here. But in all honesty, I like this one more. This little comp down here, like you could just
Yeah.
like
What's the
elong.
difference between these two? What are
This
we?
is just simple.
Yeah.
Like I don't think seeing all this industrialness in the town is necessary.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's just like
Well, it's cool looking from a design thing, but it's not adding to the narrative in any way because I don't understand how it relates. I don't understand.
yeah.
Like it feels like abstract rather than like an actual setting. If that makes any sense.
And there's also like if you're going at it with this approach for your gear village, you have to take into account perspective because these are in a design view, right? They're totally flat. They're 2D. They don't translate necessarily seamlessly to a full-on three-dimensional scene like this because then these are still graphic 2D shapes without you introducing them. Like there should be, we should see underneath them here, we should see to the left of them right here, we should see to the right of them right here, and it just kind of I think takes away from this moment you have in the foreground.
Hmm.
And I think also it doesn't relate to the figures in any way.
Yeah.
So I think that's adding to that feeling of like how is it connected to the story? Like
Yeah.
there's nothing on the figures that would suggest that they're part of that world.
And then you'd have to light up the characters in the front like a
Yeah.
bit more. It's just again you're going to the same thing. Like, it might not be black, but it's like too close. You could really describe a lot of ferociousness, right, of those forms. You know, and even see it's going to be small on my screen because I won't blow it up. But see, like you'll want to see even an ambient dark light like on the Shrek here. Like this image wouldn't be doing its job if we just saw a rim light of moonlight around Shrek. Like we gotta really see those expressions and those forms to really sell that. And these just it's like an easy cop out. Just drop it all in shadow, you know? So that's what we'd want to avoid.
And I think too is like just having the color. It's like it's not quite monochromatic, but it's also like you've got the color super focused in the center as well as the light super focused in the center.
Yeah.
And it's almost like overkill. Like I feel like
Have to balance
you
it
could
out.
bring some of those colors out into the image.
Yep.
So it's not so like just hot point right in the center of the image.
Yep. Yep.
But thank you for submitting that.
Yeah. Very cool.
Arnie Biller. Alright, this is cool.
That's
Very
fun.
interesting. Yeah.
This is like, oh god, look at that hand in the corner. There's some stuff that went down. I think they're supposed to be implying there's a reflection of another creeper in the sword, which I think that's a great idea. You're gonna have to work on that material rendering though to pull off that to like I think the level you want to. Like I looked really hard and I got that, but yeah, a little bit of work there will go a long way.
Green. Yeah, and add green to it so we can our eye catches that reflection.
Yep.
Hmm.
For me, one of the oddest bits of it is this whole finicky sort of rock shape here. It does feel flat. Like I think it works better when you have it a bit simpler, like here. But yeah, this is a cool image. It's very bleak and derelict. I'd still probably get rid of a lot of this blue, and maybe because like that's a very cool sky color, and it's you're
And
doing
everything's
nothing right to affect the rest of the image there. So there's like a bit of disconnect, you know, with that. You could do like, you know, yellows, oranges. Like there's a lot of other right colors, yellowish green even. Just get them into that sky. I don't easy way to do this. It just needs some of that color, I think, in there. Yeah, I think that helped a lot.
I think the narrative perspective too, one of the things that really helped is to clarify what the destination of these creatures is. Like, are they entering into that doorway? If they are, I'd move that tarp out of the way to open it up and put a light there to show that's where they're heading, right? And maybe put something to indicate other people, because we've got that one hand, but maybe like some fleeing villagers and stuff like that they're running out of the way.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking is like I almost want to see a person in that doorway, or some of the villagers that are really far in the background seem kind of like just carrying on about their day like no big deal.
Yeah.
And you kind of want to see some of that dramatic like realization of them like looking over their shoulder in fear or something like, oh my
Yes.
God. Like just a little more storytelling and
Like
acting on the part
having
of
some
the
light
visitors.
too. Like I'm not gonna do it justice here, but having like light coming out of there, right? Quite literally, and
Yeah.
then having like people's kind of scamp and scatter out and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like,
A good
well,
way to regard it is think of in any piece we're directing people's attention to something, and wherever we're directing their attention to, make sure there's a bit of a quote payout in
Yeah.
that focal point, so that people aren't just looking at something empty. They actually have something to satisfy where they're looking, right?
Because you have the whole picture set up to keep looking over into that dark doorway where these creatures are heading, but
Yeah.
there's nothing there.
yep.
So.
But yeah, very cool idea.
Yeah, I
Well,
like.
one last note,
Go
there's
for it.
something about the weapon that he's holding. Everything has really nice like painterly edges and qualities, and then that feels almost like it was just drawn in with like an outline, as opposed
This
to
one,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, good point.
So I feel like that needs kind of like more treatment like the rest of the painting.
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah,
great,
the
great
black-
submission. You guys are on point today.
Mhm.
Jan,
Sekiro. Sorry, everything with that theme is Sekiro to me now.
so she's like looking at like a scene.
Yeah, like a portal or something like that.
It's like a weird setup for me.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with the composition of this one. It's throwing me off a little bit. It's like the one half of the picture is this purple circle, and then the other half of the picture is this witch lady. They're not integrating into like a painting in my mind.
Yeah, she's
very
in the
well.
forest doing this. It's like two little scenes. She's like viewing what the creatures did.
Yeah. Well, her hand's there, so it looks like she's conjuring, she's summoning a portal. But
Yeah.
what is it? There's some disconnect. What do you guys think is the disconnect between the portal and her? Maybe there's.
I think it
light on
flattens
it or something?
out.
Yeah,
It doesn't
it
feel like it's like
Two-dimensional?
in an environment. It's immersed in an environment in any way.
Yeah.
It almost feels like literally like she could be next to it just as easily as she's behind it.
Yeah.
If the like,
I think there's
it's
a way
flattening.
to do this idea, but I don't think this is the composition that is best for it. Like
Mhm.
you'd have to kind of set the stage a little bit more, I think. You know, maybe zoom out, have her doing something, or maybe have it all on a table. It's just a weird setup for me. But yeah, you got a lot of nice rendering going on, in there, and there's a
I
cool
feel like-
story.
Yeah, if we just zoom into the portal part of it, like I feel like that in there is a
Itself.
much better painting.
Yeah,
than what's
agree.
going
My eyes keep going there all the time. I constantly keep going back.
like you
to that.
don't need all this stuff out here.
like, yeah, I would almost just say
Break.
get rid of her and just like make that painting inside the
The,
painting.
the image.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm glad we're all agreement on that. So this is a cool value one.
Well, the color
Concept
piece
by
has
H.
got a nice
Oh,
read to
honey.
it. Compositionally, this is
Yeah, this
nice.
is cool. It's
Yeah.
very moody and atmospheric.
I feel like my eye wants to see something that breaks up the top of the painting in some way. Like it just like goes to white. And so it's like you want to have things that lead the eye into the painting. So if
Mhm.
it's like even
Yeah.
like clouds like coming and breaking like behind her head or something, like you want to create like visual flow to push the eye back into the painting from the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have probably like a lot more of these shapes, like the roofs, the castles, any part of the town. I'd probably have more. Personally, I'd have those more in shadow rather than having them disappear. Like the value of the sky meets those almost like immediately. Whereas I think if putting all of this up top in a shadow, with like little vignettes of light here and there, I think will add a lot more impact.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Just knock it out. Then you could light up. You could actually light up some of the houses. Maybe put a hint of a fire back there. You could really add a lot, to that overall narrative, I think.
Yeah.
But you have really some really nice rendering going on in there. So
Yeah.
like, do something like with that sky.
So that adds a lot there, right there. Yeah. Just
Something-
breaking up that shape.
Yeah,
I'd
I
also-
kind of make
Yeah.
a quasi tangent there and trying to get rid of. But yeah, that's kind of kind of what it needs. It's like a little bit more of that atmosphere, because then you could put lights and like see if like back here, like you could add a little bit more of an accent right behind all that, just to break up right all of that. Overlay, I guess overlay will do it fine, or just like right, just having some of that light and stuff just to really help flow and balance the whole image out.
Now, her, in terms of her, there's two things you could do to enhance her. One is, I see the hand that you rendered out with the Ankh is really nicely done. I like the lighting and the metal rendering in there is really
Yeah.
nice. I'm not quite sure what's going on with the other arm, but I think what she needs is some kind of maybe top-down lighting to help to define some of these
Yep.
three-dimensional shapes and some material differences in your rendering. For instance, to bring a little bit of that shiny silk and chrome maybe in the trimming along her pauldrons. That could be nice too. Just so we have soft fabric next to shiny fabric, and that juxtaposition can be really nice on the eyes.
Yeah, I'd find like you
Around
said,
the-
Adam. I think that's a great idea. Again, pulling up with like that 3/4 spotlight a bit, just like up on the face,
Ah, there we go.
some on like the top
Just need
part of
the
the body,
contrast.
and then leave the bottom right. Knock that a little bit more into that shadow. We'll add
It's magic.
a lot more of that drama. But this is a cool image. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you've,
yeah, yeah.
you've got a really cool piece here.
Yeah. I definitely keep working that. You're going in a really nice
Yeah,
direction.
keep going. Keep going. Ahmed, how you doing? Checking.
Another very Diablo vibe in this one. I'm digging it.
I like the new had a new Diablo trailer, I guess, recently, and
Oi.
they actually have it looking horror again and less like Warcraft,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
nice. Look at that. That's pretty cool 3D to figure it out. Wow.
Very interesting.
The-
Can't-
One of the things that's jumping out to me right away is just the noise of the textures. Like
yeah,
everything
it's
feels
very
kind of,
noisy.
chittery everywhere you look. With even like the hard edges of like the tree and each blade of grass and the buildings, like everything's just a little too sharp and sudden all over the image.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And that's like, that straight up comes down to brushwork and feeling things out, and having that balance of soft and lost versus hard, sharp, and deep, with the texture.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's a pain in the neck. It does take a while to figure out, but see, like, there's an unequivocal amount of like noise, right, kind of going over here that just, it keeps pulling my attention to this fenced area where there's
Yeah.
houses. I like this composition and setup actually a lot better because nothing
loses-
here is like
Less-
adding to
yeah.
this.
Less visual distractions in there. The other thing too is that the selling point of this entire piece is the werewolf lifting the victim off the ground, right? And I find that that's how you've kind of squished these silhouettes together. We don't feel that arm lifting.
Yes.
And I would even bring that werewolf up into the foreground more, scale him up so that he's filling that frame more, so we can get into the action a little bit more, because it's kind of, again, we're looking at it from a bit of a distance.
Yep.
It'd be worth scaling that into the shot a little bit more.
Push
Yeah.
a little bit more of these neutral greens and transition those into the yellows and blues in a few places too. You could really pop some of these
yeah.
elements. But yeah, I think the posing of the wolf here, like that leg in particular feels a little weird. You'd want to see a little more of that form, and you want to get that acting. It's just like a little too flat and stiff in there.
Yeah. It feels more like he's a fencer rather than a werewolf. You don't feel that feral attack.
And if you're going through this effort too to set up a scene with like your 3D and stuff, again, think like what would really sell this moment of him in Terror. That would mean dropping this horizon a lot more, so you can stage what the character is looking up at it. You have to empower it. You have to make it fearful, right? Suspenseful. Having such a neutral camera, such a neutral level of zoom even, is taking your impact away, like on multiple fronts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like part of it is the posing, but I also feel like maybe it's just the anatomy of the werewolf.
Yeah.
Like it's
Needs
just not
work.
reading well right now. So just the design language of the creature itself. Like
All
if this the main point of your painting is this fearsome creature, like work on the design of him to make him more fearsome and more believable.
I got two examples before we move on. See, like, one person that you can look at and study for the balancing of that brushwork is John Park. He is a master at blending busy versus simple versus implied. And that's a skill that I think once you practice a lot more, it'll help your ideas come a lot more into focus. And like we just said with the camera angle, this is also doing it exactly what we were just saying. See, we're kind of empowering and focusing this moment. There's a little bit more of a level of zoom on it, but it absolutely emphasizes this central element in the scene. And I think if your image had a particular camera setup like this, again, it would be a lot better for it. With that, again, with the creature and the character kind of right on front and center stage.
Yeah. A little tip too, just for everybody interested, is from a horror perspective. If you think psychology from a horror perspective, it's that element of claustrophobia. So when you pull the camera away, there's too many visual escape routes, which takes away from the feeling of scariness, right? So just think about closing off exits, and that helps to create a more
slight
of a
Dutch angle on that too. Any amount of angles. Get rid of the flatness. Get rid of even the verticalness. Go all with dynamic angles. All right, I'm gonna hit pause and open. All right, we're back with the last batch of talented illustrators and artists. Julie,
nice.
Julie,
vibes.
what do you got
Really
here?
nice.
This is fun.
Yeah.
I like
The
this.
atmosphere.
The eyes leading, a nice leading line from the heads, leading right up to the monster up at the top, a nice swoosh.
The
The
composition.
Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
The one thing that's jumping out to me is how flat the guys get so quickly.
Yep.
I feel like they're
Add that ambient spotlight.
shape of them is really nice. The silhouette of them is really nice, but I feel like they just need a little more three-dimensionality. They need to just be a little rounder. They don't need to go quite so flat so fast.
And it's just raw rendering, and of course, knowing a bit about what to light, push with light and form.
Yeah.
See, like I'm even going slightly too much, but again, once you get a gauge on that, see like what I'm doing here, you can pare it back, blend these forms right into the edge silhouettes, of your shadows, and you could and then get some reference on how these folds and crinkles will work. Like I said, your guess is as good as mine in terms of like getting the actual authenticity of some of that. But again, once it's there, you'll be able to make it read a lot better. Get the back of his head.
And that's something already.
Yeah.
But this is what everything needs. It gets too stiff, like and flat, as Jessica said.
And it's like when you do that, all the other details you already have in there, like the guy's face, like right on the edge of the canvas, like all of those things become more meaningful.
Yeah.
And it's like even though he hasn't touched the face of that other guy, it already looks better in relationship to everything around it. It feels more intentional and nuanced.
Give this guy a sexy denim ass.
Oh.
That should be the next month's challenge. Who can paint the sexiest denim ass? Or it's like in the swamp, so it's like Sensi.
I worry we get overwhelmed with submissions.
Oh, we would. Everybody's got an opinion about those denim asses. So you gotta mix this up with some neutrals.
I think that guy in the middle, the one that has the light going across his back, I think that one is actually the worst as far as flattened out.
Yeah, there. That's
the
like
light is very flattening. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, your silhouettes are fantastic, but the light on those silhouettes kills the silhouette, right?
Yeah, and it's as simple as what Tyler's doing, just going in and just building up the form a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes a lot of time because like what's happening back here, right? Everything gets so noisy and jittery. Again, what we just mentioned previously, you got a lot of that, and when the silhouettes, flatten out right beyond them, you're running into that problem. It's like double tapping itself. Like it gets worse because of the other surrounding elements. See, like you can knock back like a good amount of detail and clarity back there. See, like just less is more in a lot of places, but as long as it's ultimately clean, you'll really be able to showcase this element going on here. Like, see, you have white. You tinted the heck out of this light where you want to add deep ambient colors, mixing. I know what you were going for, but like adding white to that is probably not the way you want to achieve that. Add some greens, add some yellows, add tones of oranges to that too, and it'll look really good.
And as a minor thing, the grass feels not as well done as the rest of the image.
Yeah.
The grass feels kind of scribbly by comparison to how well designed everything else is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Jess would know because she spends dozens of hours laboring over grass.
I like to paint my grass.
Yeah, get back in there with that. There's an artist that does a fairly good scene like this. I can't think of the name. If I could, I'd bring it up on screen, but maybe by the time we're done this, I could think of the name. It was Richard something. I'll let you know. All right, guys, Mother of Sorrows. Now, this is a creep fest. Anyone want to start us off on this one?
That's fun.
Well, a very similar situation, dark on dark on dark. Now, in her particular case, she's hidden in the dark, but she's inside. So that works because it's kind of like she's a bit of a voyeur standing by the window. But the werewolves in the background, we need some separation between these beasts and the blue sky and the deep, dark teal sky, so that illuminate that scene. And that whole upper right area next to her, to the right of her head, all of that should be lit to bring out the scene, because otherwise we just see these subtle silhouettes of something or other. It's hard to read, right?
No, I 100% agree, because like the detail and the readability of that character in the foreground's immaculate. So you got like, I maybe bring up that lettering on the glass a little bit and really play in the reflectivity and the ambient, like bring in the blues into that night sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have top of it like kind of lose the warmth and start going to like the cools of the sky and stuff to play up that reflection. This is a really cool piece. This is a really fun idea. I love the dual image, and it's a really difficult concept that I think that you've done a really good job of pulling off.
I found the name of the artist. I just had to look it up on my phone. That would help not just our previous entry, but it was a lot of these, because he does like a lot of these soft, subtle ambient light sort of shots, things like this, right? Like there's really elegant ways to pull off dark and moody palettes. Sorry, my boiler just kicked in. But he had a couple more where literally a bunch of people scamping through the woods like this. Where is it?
Notice it's all
right
blue.
Here.
Yeah, we've got blues everywhere. There's no black.
It's all neutrals with accents of blues, greens.
Yeah.
See, like just enough detail to help sell that form. But this is the clarity you want. See, softer but clear shapes, harder shapes with more form. And that's what sells the painting.
There's also a lot of midtones here. Like there's hardly any black and hardly any white. It's all like a compressed value structure in the middle of the value scale, as opposed to like black and white that we're seeing in a lot of the paintings.
Precisely.
Yeah, Richard White, folks, that's the guy you want to look up for these types of shots.
Richard White.
Steal the hell out of his colors. Mother of Sorrows. All right, awesome entry.
Yeah, really cool.
I also thought it was thoughtful that the lantern's lit but the candles aren't. I think that's kind of just a neat, thoughtful thing to do. I don't know why. I like that.
I didn't even.
It would be obvious to light the candles, but you didn't. You lit the thing instead. I don't know.
I saw you had 2 submissions, so since we're doing one, I went with, I think, I consider that your better one, so we're gonna just go with that. But I love a lot of your form, and your colors in this. I think, definitely a little bit more polish around the edges for some of this stuff, but I think this is on its way, to looking very, very strong. This is menacing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the expression. I think you've done a really good job with like creating this sense of like dynamic emotion. But I also think that the face, like the cheeks and everything, get too flat and smooth for the expression. I feel like you're going to get like the wrinkles around the nose. You're going to get like the wrinkles around the eyes and the cheeks. Like maybe just look at some pictures of people screaming and see like the ways that like the face kind of like...
I sent him a picture of my mother. She was always screaming at me growing up.
Works every time.
Can't get it out of my head. But yes, this works
so good.
really, really good when it's smaller, right? It has a pretty good read. I'd even darken a lot of your background to simplify some of those shapes. But I think that the bigger problems, like it just needs more time in the oven, because once you zoom in, a lot of the roughness it starts to come up for a more traditional illustration. I think for like a mood painting, it's absolutely on point. But yeah, you'd want to just start fine-tuning some of this stuff.
Yeah, like actually painting the hands. Like right now they look like just sketchy and choppy. The hair.
Take it from like a color sketch and go all the way, because you have really good structure here.
Yeah.
Which is not easy to pull off. Especially with this type of lighting. You have warms, you have cools, and again, you're making a great use of all the neutrals for the midtones, and that's what I think really helps your image.
the design of the shapes is really nice too. Like even the like streaks of red blood or whatever it is coming out of her. Like the shapes of them are reading really well.
Yeah.
So
No,
This is awesome.
Sorry, Tyler, just to add one, because there's one little touch that'll really add a lot to that last piece.
Go for
The
it.
fire is very dull, and what I would do is add some kind of fiery glow to that, because we have these nice soft neutral tones and this hot light.
Like a little bit of yellow in there too.
It'll really pop in an image like that. So you'll see.
yeah, it needs a little bit of pop. Yeah.
Feel the power.
Lovely.
I love this one.
This is awesome. This is probably one of my like structurally my favorite drawing out of this whole batch.
Yeah,
this is amazing. This is exactly, what I had in mind when I was
That's
like
a
coming
wild
up with this one.
Yeah.
This is like just such a consistent like application of technique. Like everything works so well together.
I want to paint this because
I know.
the drawing is so nice. I just want to paint this.
Yeah.
You want to do a collab? This is great.
Really a little beautiful dynamic drawing.
Look, it's under the freaking bridge. You can see the village in the background. Like I'd probably nix this shape or this element here, like I just crowding things up too much. Keep that simple over there, and then just have a couple rooftops. Like it's little brook on the outskirts of the village. But
Lovely
this is like
composition,
this is freaking awesome. I couldn't come up with something better myself.
Little anatomical thing. There's a little bit something getting mixed up in her thigh that's in the knee, her knee in the water, and her boob. Her boob the volume of her boob starts up at the shoulder.
Oh,
you want to down a little bit.
Right here.
A little trivial thing. It's nothing big. Yeah.
Given referencing the context and the historic significance of the creature, getting good mood shots, and of course, applying real reference. This is awesome.
This was a really good like taking your reference and then interpreting it as best.
That's
best
what 90% of the jobs are, is taking a reference, interpreting that, and providing something, right, that's marketable, and, of course, it's something that can serve a specific audience.
Yeah, absolutely. One observation, too, is the big narrative of this is his cruelty. He's dragging her by her hair. And her expression almost looks one of, it looks soft and pleasurable. I would definitely want to emphasize the anguish in her face.
The dread.
She's just a human. He doesn't care, right? So he's dragging her. You want to see the kind of look on her face, right?
I like the juxtaposition. Part of me thinks it's intentional because, like, the prompt for this was that there's a woman creating a monster. So part of me thinks that maybe, like, the pose would say she's not in control of him, but her facial expression is telling me maybe she still is.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
I don't know. It's just throwing it there as a fair point. So.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because she's holding on. If she was enjoying herself, maybe she wouldn't be gripping him, like as a ways to kind of mitigate the pain. I don't know. But yeah, it's a good point.
I got more like she was like guiding his hand, like leading him somewhere. I don't know.
That's why I had to get you on this panel, Jess, because you get the eye for the subtext.
Maybe sometimes, or maybe I'm projecting into it or something. I don't know, but
for the art, I think that's pretty gorgeous drawing though. I'm digging
it. It is really gorgeous.
Yeah,
and the creature design too. Like fantastic job designing him. He's fantastic looking.
Tim, what the heck is this? I provided this story. You go overwritten my awesome story I wrote about the what was she, a hagridess, the mother of sorrows. Tim always undercutting me. But provided us with booze at the last con, so thank you, Tim.
That is true. Thank you so much, Tim.
You're forgiven.
It was the most delicious bottle of American honey I've ever drank.
Yeah, we were drinking it straight. It was great.
Oh. This is cool.
Yep.
Well, one of the things that's like, I feel like there's maybe too much of a contrast between like soft out of focus and sharp in focus. Like the building behind her goes like too soft. The trees and creatures almost too soft by comparison to her.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's a bit of a value confusion going on here. Like foreground, midground, background. The creatures in the midground are lower contrast than the trees behind them, and I would reverse that to make the tree to kind of wash those trees back and bring out those, because that's a bit of that looks backwards to me, and the building the high contrast building right behind the hand, I would shift that building over to the left to open up the hand, because that hand is a focal point, right?
Yeah, it gets very difficult, Adam, as you
Yeah.
said, with structurally back here. It gets like light, mid,
Yeah.
dark, mid, dark, mid, dark, and then like back here, right? I think you'd want that to be more readable at this level, so that it's a value thing that you almost kind of try to override with the strong use of hue and color choices, but underneath, like, and that does alleviate it to some degree. I 100% believe that, but I think if you resolved a lot of this background, again, I don't really have many beefs with this character, but the background's competing a lot with it, and I maybe give her like a little bit more of a neck.
That might be why she blurred everything so much, was trying to make it compete less with the figure in the foreground. But I think the blurring is not the issue. It's the fact that the values are like hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold.
Yep.
So
We talked about this last night. I was drinking, so I don't remember. In the group, in the hangout, isn't we were patterning the value structure.
Yeah,
I was having a conversation about that, like, literally. I thought it was yesterday night. Maybe not.
Could have been. I don't know. I don't remember.
I think it was with Tim. Tim, I'm sure, will let us know in the comments if I'm making it up. But yeah, great job, Tim.
There's also something about her expression that's kind of throwing me off. Like the happy, cheerful face doesn't. We're talking about wrought with grief, descended into madness.
Yeah.
But she's kind of happy and smiling.
Neutral with glee.
Yeah, and it doesn't fit with the story that you've attached to it. So.
But Jessica, I think that she brought on this grief, so she's actually welcoming this grief. I'm just trolling.
Yeah. I gotcha.
No, I'm not being. No, I'm kidding. I'm just messing with you. All right.
Okay, it opened back. Computer's catching up.
Well, I think we all kind of were very smitten by that sketch, but the fact that it's unfinished, I mean, I don't know how much of an issue that is. But
on this?
Yeah.
But it's a finished sketch.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's nothing about it, right, that's unresolved or sloppy.
Yeah.
It's not like a painting, but
in a book, like an interior illustration or something, I think it could work really well. I do want to see it painted. Yeah. Well, I almost don't want to see it painted either, because the technique of his drawing skills is really good.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Jefferson.
Well, I think it's unanimous there, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, we'll be coming back to it, I'm sure.
All right. We have more. Okay.
So you have, a pretty interesting composition and setup here. This is like on paper what I literally asked for, right? Like, okay, we got, the lady, the mother of sorrow here. You got the monster, you got the town, like he just burned the whole thing to the ground. But it's kind of like the acting and the way you portray the moment here that I think could use like a lot of that pep up, like a little bit of that work. Like it's neutral across the board, it's like if you were, imagine being a child, right? And you're gonna imagine and reenact a scene from a movie. It's like you just took out all the toys, placed them in their positions, but we have yet to cue, the action button, or, you've yet to start playing with them, I guess, in that analogy. So they're like, they need that acting, they need that direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Like, just even in the pose, the facial expressions, the lack of interaction between them. Yeah. The thing that ties them together is they both have the glowing green. Mm-hmm. But other than that, there's no acting, like Tyler was just saying, that connects them in any way to tell you that they're together.
You'll notice too, if you watch how Tyler very often cleans up edges and stuff like that, just to create a little bit more clarity, use a lasso tool. It's a very effective tool for just blocking in some nice hard edges. And one of the things you'll notice is everything kind of has a soft edge.
Yes.
And that gives a bloodier feeling to the piece, right? Particularly the buildings.
I wonder if this is traditional media. I'm almost thinking that this isn't a digital painting.
I think it is.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, if you look at the brushes, there's a lot of repeating brushes, like kind of stamp tool brushes kind of thing, with the grass particularly. Yeah.
Okay.
But it goes to show something to be said for achieving a more painterly look, right? Just how that brushwork was done. But that looks. I can see the repeating brushes in a lot of spots there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm having trouble seeing that Take it for
And
it.
that's not like the biggest problem, in the image or anything. But yeah, it's just a thing. Like I think you'll get there, on the way. But I think like you're coming back to what Adam said. It is like an edge control thing for a lot of it, where things get like a Vaseline looking smear like on everything, which takes things a bit out of focus. So when you have sharp edges and contrast on things, it'll add a lot more to the impact, for a scene like this.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it too is how these colors are mixing, because they're not mixing right now, and that's part of another problem, right? Is that okay? We have blue. Blue means white orange, right? Like again, the colors are getting tinted without interacting with each other. I recommend painting in the entire environment, all the ambient light, paint the shapes of the structures, and then start glazing in the warms, the greens, and then amp them up with color dodge, whatever you want, to get a lot of those to start blending and mixing.
You know what I noticed? A common theme too, just something that's global. When it comes to lighting, you're approaching lighting as a white. The fire is
Tinted.
white, the light on her is a white, and look for color instead. And that comes from referencing, researching a burning building, researching firelight on a person, people standing by bonfires and stuff, to see how that behaves. Because you'll notice the white, you shouldn't be anywhere near white when it comes to that. That kind of gives it a bit of a choppy.
Here's like a pretty good example of that.
Hey,
see, like the ambient and atmospheric light is mixing with the warm tones from the burning village. You have a drastically different angle, that's fine, but the effect would be pretty similar.
Yeah.
It would just be like a lighter overall because your sky is lighter.
Yep.
But that's the kind of mixing, and that's something you don't necessarily want to probably to hone that skill with a complex image like this. Start simple. Just set up something in front of you that you can paint in real time. Much simpler in structure to practice the color mixing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, great entry though. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, we're gonna hit pause and we're gonna go with the fit. So we're back. We all unanimously agree. Our favorites was The Werewolf Hair by Aniken. Do you guys want to take a stab at that name? Well, I can't. Aniken?
Aniken?
Sorry,
I'm not sure what the origin of the name.
I have a very blunt American tongue. And of course, Tobin's. I loved yours. This even probably could have won for me if it was painted, but it's a very great drawing. It's amazing, and I can't ignore that. And of course, this is our runner-up from Monape here, Mother of Sorrows. This is dreadful. Like this
and
is
it's also
menacing.
just such a creative and ambitious choice of how to paint the scene.
A little bit of value fixing in there, and you'll be on point. But these all amazing compositions, great structure. They of course nail the theme, and very good technique through and through.
Notice the commonalities that they fill the frame nicely too. You notice how the characters are close up. We're not losing characters off in the distance. That both makes it easier for the artist and makes for a much more compelling image. So it's a lesson for all of us.
The weakest thread, like you said, across many of them is like you zoom way far out. It takes us completely removed from the scene. Like get up and figure out what your image is about, what's important, and just shove that camera up there. Get up in the business.
Just get right up on in there. There you go. Get a couple hits off of that one there. Yeah. Very nice, man.
Okay. Thank you guys for entering. Following this, I'll have the description and the due date for the next challenge. So thank you for submitting, everybody. Great stuff. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Hopefully you guys got something out of this. All right. I got it written down. It's somewhere on my phone. Hey, everybody. So I'm in post-production putting this video together. It turns out, for whatever reason, I don't have the file where we mentioned our favorites. So unfortunately, Jessica and Adam are no longer here, and it's just me, and it's very late. So, turns out these ones are our favorite. We all agreed 100% across the board on all these decisions. Again, we liked Aniken's here. Composition, storytelling, everything. Rendering, across the board, it's really good. And again, Mother of Sorrows from Monape here is a freaking amazing, very complicated, difficult level of sketch, very high level of detail and clarity. A little bit more fixes to really bring it up there. And then of course our runner-ups is Tobin's, just because it's not a painting, but it's a very nice and amazing finished sketch, and we just wish it was a painting so we could look at it in all its glory. But it's amazing nonetheless. So congrats to not only you three, but everybody, it was an absolute pleasure. Adam and Jessica, and upon our original recording, expressed lots of gratitude as well. So with that said, let's get the next order of business established. The next challenge. This is going to be due December 10th-ish. And I know, Tim, you'll get those over to me by then. So December 10th. The theme and the idea is the timekeeper and the altar of ages. Yeah, let that sink in for a little bit. It's going to be epic. Looking forward to what you guys are going to do with that. Come up with some designs for the timekeeper. Figure out where this altar is, how it looks, how it can, how can you convey that it's a matter of like expansive time travel and stuff. I'm looking forward to it. So again, thank you all and do take care.